Hi, I'm Jess, and today I'm going to do a series review of what has become one of my favourite series of all time. And I just realised that even though I read the first book in this series, I think at the beginning of the year sometime, or at the end of last year, I never actually did a book review of it, which is why I'm doing a series review instead of just individual book reviews, which I would normally do. So, this series, the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. So this first one is Clockwork Angel, and that's Will Herondale. The second one is Clockwork Prince, and that is Jem Carstairs. Clockwork Princess, but that is Tessa. And if you've heard of the Mortal Instruments series, this is like the prequel series to those books. And while you can read them on their own, I much prefer doing it in the order that I did it. I might be a bit biased because this is what I chose to do, but if you can see on my shelves, they're ordered in the order that they were published in. So that's Clockwork, City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, then Clockwork Angel, then City of Fallen Angels, then Clockwork Prince, then City of Lost Souls, then Clockwork Princess. Because that's the order that they were published in. And if you read them in the order they were published in, there's little crossover hints that you get if you've read all the books, if that makes sense. Like, there's things that you understand later on, and so once I get to the spoilery part of this review, I would recommend not watching it if you've not read the Mortal Instruments either. At least some of them. I have a really bad track record with being spoiled for Cassandra Clare books. I was spoiled for City of Ashes and City of Glass by the City of Bones movie. Don't watch City of Bones movie if you've not read the original trilogy. It spoils the hell out of every big plot twist that Cassandra Clare did so well that I wouldn't have guessed if I hadn't been spoiled. I was spoiled for. I was spoiled for the ending of Lost Souls. The only book that I have so far not been spoiled for is Fallen Angels. I don't even know why. So, I was slightly spoiled for the ending of Clockwork Princess, mostly because Clockwork Princess comes with a family tree in the back of it, and I saw who Tessa ended up with. Anyway, to the review. So the first book, Clockwork Angel, I did read this a while ago, so I cannot remember everything that happened in it, so it's just a general review. Tessa comes from New York to England because her brother has got a home there now, and her aunt has just died, so she's got nowhere to live. And when she gets there, these two women pick her up, saying that they are friends of Nate's, and then they take her to this house where they then torture her and teach her how to use her power, which is to shapeshift. She's then told that she needs to marry a man called Mortmain, who has made her and wants her to be his wife. And eventually, after she's been there a while and honed her skills and is just about to marry Mortmain, a stranger called Will Herondale and his parapetite Jem Carstairs come and save her, and she is taken to the Shadowhunters Institute to learn about the Shadowhunters and the Downworlders and discover what she is in this world. And I like that Cassandra Clare always uses characters who are not aware of the world. Like, I think because going into this book I knew like about the Shadowhunter world, I feel like it was a lot easier for me to just go straight into it. Whereas I feel like I would recommend, at least if you're going to read this one first, because this one is a lot better than the Mortal Instruments series, I just like the characters more, I'd recommend reading at least City of Bones, because I think that sets up the world a lot more than this one does, because this one's more like character based than it is the world based, I think. But I'm sure you can understand it still. I mean, they are standalone series, you don't have to read one to get the other. I love the characters in this book, and the love triangle is perfectly done. I mean, yeah, there's a love triangle, and a lot of people hate love triangles in YA, but I just love this one because I think your opinion really changes really quickly, and you don't even know who you like. I mean, I was always on Team Wessa, but I still, like, there were times when I was like, oh, Jem, I just want Jem, and the series just goes up and up and up. I gave this one 5 stars because it was amazing. And I was already like in the Shadowhunter world from reading the first 3 books. But I can't imagine not loving this book even if I hadn't read them all at first. I really loved it. It was a great start to the trilogy and it was great. Although I can't remember much of it, but I do remember like the basics. So yeah, if you have not read Clockwork Angel, please do not stay for my Clockwork Prince review because I will be doing like little plot summary of it which will spoil the ending of Clockwork Angel. So this is Clockwork Prince, the second book in the Infernal Devices. This book was really just a roller coaster of emotions, like not as much as Clockwork Princess was, but it was still a roller coaster of emotions. This starts off with Will going to a ghost and asking her for a love potion because he wants to erase his love of Tessa, and it's, oh, that's the worst part for me. I cried at the beginning because he was like, oh, it's not for me, it's not for her, it's for me, and I cried and I'm tearing up just thinking about how awful that is. And we start to learn about Will's curse and stuff like that, and how he's trying to get Magnus to help him because he loves Tessa so much that he wants to actually be able to be himself around her. I love all the book references in these books. Like Will and Tessa both share this love of literature together, and I just love that. I love that dynamic of a relationship. I feel like being able to talk about books is one of those things that, like, I love talking about books with anybody. And I feel like their relationship was like revolved around that, and that was really great for me. I really love Will, but just because of his knowledge of literature is great, and I want to read A Tale of Two Cities so that I can figure out for myself whether he's like Sidney Carlton. And I think in this book I felt sorry for Jem, but I didn't want her to be with him. And the ending to this one, I was spoiled for, but it was still quite shocking how it happened. But it was great. It totally made me want to read Clockwork Princess, even though I had to read City of Lost Souls first, which killed me, even though I did love City of Lost Souls. Review of that will be coming up soon. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. I gave this one 5 stars as well. So, if you've not read Clockwork Prince, don't stay. Also, I will be doing a discussion of Clockwork Princess because I remembered it so well because I just finished it a minute ago and I need to discuss. I read this in a read-along with my friend book-loving Jess, and I will link her channel down below. I had so much fun reading this with her over the past few days. It was so fun just to discuss. We'd read like 100 pages and then convene to discuss, and it was so great to discuss everything with her. It just made it so much better. So we start off this one. I love the start of this book. It's so funny. This book just had me laughing and crying, and I just didn't know where my emotions were and I couldn't keep them in check. But we start off with Jem coming in and just being like, I've got your 2 favorite words for you, Will. And he says some like nasty comment about Gabriel, and then he goes, no, it's demon pox. And then just Will busts out to his song about demon pox, and it's just so funny. Like, I loved it so much. Unfortunately, you may have to delay your plans for suicide a bit longer. Gabriel Lightwood is downstairs, and I have 2 words for you. 2 of your favourite words, at least, when you put them together. To simpleton, inquired Will. Worthless upstart, Jem grinned. Demon pox. So much. And when Gabriel came and he was like, father is a worm, and Gideon was like, yeah, I know. And he said, no, he's literally a worm. And when Will was like, yeah, that's the final stage of demon pox, you turn into a demon. Everybody just looked at him like, why didn't you tell us that? And he was like, the books were in the library, I wasn't preventing you from reading them. Like, they all should have just gone off and read about demon pox just because Benedict Lightwood had it. I'm sorry, this book makes me delusional. It's so funny. I just loved Will so much. And this is going to be spoilery now because I can't review this without spoilers in a minute. And I loved I loved the proposal between Sophie and Gideon, because it was so funny. Like when she was like, "You haven't proposed to me, you just made a declaration in front of everybody that's not a proposal." And Cicely and Gabriel were outside the door listening in, and Gabriel was like, "Well, that's putting him in his place." And Cicely was crying because it was so romantic, and I just loved it. And what other bits did I find hilarious? Gideon and Gabriel's letter about the hats, just, the hats. But this was such an emotional read. Like, I know I'm laughing about it, but there were some really funny bits, but there were also some really, really sad bits. I just loved it so much. The Tessa and Will scene, when they slept together, it was the best. I just loved it so much. I also laughed at that scene when he got her down to like her corset and he just looked at it like wildly, but it wasn't with like passion, it was with confusion. Like he's like, how do I take this off? It was just so funny. I loved it so much, just so much. And I loved all the letters from Josiah Wayland. I think he's the consul. And him, the Inquisitor, like discussing Charlotte, because I was just like, I hated him. I love Mortmain as a villain because I feel like in the Mortal Instruments I hated Valentine, but yeah, I hated Valentine, but I hate Sebastian. I hate what he does, but I always blame Valentine for it. I'm one of those people who sympathises with him because it's not his fault, it's the Demon Blood that's doing it to him. Whereas with Mortmain, I hated him. Every time he was in a scene, I was just like, I hate you. I hate you so much. I just wanted to kill him. I didn't believe for 1 second that Jem was dead. Mostly because I had been spoiled by the stupid family tree. Secondly, because it just didn't feel like it was made a big enough deal for him to be dead. I didn't believe it at all. Originally, me and Jess were just going on about how we thought he might be a vampire, and it was just like, no, he's not a vampire, he's a silent brother. But that made me cry a lot as well, like that he was a silent brother, because it's like he was still severed from Will and he still couldn't, like, he wasn't a contender for Tessa anymore, even though she'd already slept with Will. He wasn't a contender anymore, like, because he couldn't marry anybody, and the ending was perfect. A lot of people have said that they feel like Cassandra Clare copped out in like choosing one of them, but I think she did. She made the right choice. I mean, Tessa had her whole life, Will's whole life with him, and then she'll get Jem's whole life with him, and I love that. And I hope, I'm gonna put this down because it's too heavy. I hope so much that Jem and Tessa are both part of City of Heavenly Fire. I'm gonna pre-order it now because I'm so excited for it, but I just want them to be part of it. I want Jem to go around with Jason, Harry, and I want Tessa to talk. I want Tessa to meet Jason, tell him about Will and just how brilliant their family was, and I just want everything to be perfect. And I think the ending to Clockwork Princess gives me a bit of hope for the ending to Heavenly Fire. Because, and especially like with City of Glass as well, because I feel like City of Glass was a satisfying ending if it ended as a trilogy, and I think Clockwork Princess was a satisfying ending to the trilogy. Like, I'm satisfied with it. I loved it. I really, really loved it. I just loved it so much. There were so many times where I was just laughing to myself because it was just so funny, or crying to myself because it was so sad, and I was just like, don't even know. I'm so sad that this is my last Cassandra Clare book that's like been published. So now, like, I know Heavenly Fire comes out in 9 days today, but not when this is up. But after that, I'm going to have to wait like a year, like everybody else, to get the next book, and it's just going to be horrible because I'm so excited about them now. But I'm really looking forward to the other trilogies that Cassandra Clare's got in like the works, and I just want more of the Shadowhunter world. So I think that's done for my review. If this is probably a really, really long review, I'd guess about 20 minutes, and I didn't even pause that much. I don't think I have that much to cut out in editing. So I will see you next time. Goodbye.